Cheers! Welcome to
Movie
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 Bitches.
Bitches, episode 255. Woo! Tonight we're reviewing Woman in the Window.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
Ah.
Wow.
But first things first.
Yes. Shout out to our Patreon supporters. $5 a month gets you early access. Thank you all for your support. Means the world. Second thing second. Shout out to our wine sponsor, Wink. Go to trywink.com/moviebitches. You get $22 off your first month of wine. Third things third, make sure to subscribe, share, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and click the little thumbs up button, all that good stuff. So, Woman in the Window. The new Joe Wright movie. Who was expecting that?
Certainly wasn't expecting this broad genre piece from Joe Wright, but...
Would we call this a broad genre? I mean, yes. But like...
That is exactly what I would call it.
Right. I'm just so confused as to what this movie thought it was and what this movie was.
Well, okay, a little context based on a based on a best-selling book that I read after having had too much time at the airport, went into one of those kiosks, found a book, and it's by AJ, oh God, I forget the last name. But it was like initials, and I tend to lean towards, this is information you don't necessarily need, but I tend to lean toward mysteries written by women. And so I thought, AJ so-and-so, it's probably a woman. Read it.
No.
No, it's in fact a man. But read, the first 150 pages on the plane, because it was just one of those. It's one of those. So I wasn't surprised that this movie was like a Lifetime movie with a cast.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Like I was like, it's a dumb airport novel that was like fun to read, and the book is very referential to film and to noir and thrillers and Rear Window and all of those things. And so like as reading the book, I'm going, I know that movie. That's fun. She's talking about that.
Well, and watching the movie, I'm sure you were like, ooh, I know that movie. That movie.
Yeah, they only did a few, and they really dropped it.
Yes.
I think because they couldn't get the rights to things, perhaps.
Because they were all old.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, the book is chock-a-block. Chock-a-block?
Gotcha.
Chock-a-block.
Chock.
It's
not
shocking.
Shock.
It's shocking how chock-a-block full of references the book is, right? And so...
Yeah.
So the fact that she was just like, I like old movies. Never mind. Was shocking to me.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
No, it didn't really matter.
So it's based on an airport book that Joe Wright then elevated a lifetime elevated a Lifetime script to like a mid-level Netflix film.
Well, what's interesting is that this was actually a Fox, well, not Fox anymore, a 20th century movie that because of the pandemic, they offloaded to Netflix.
Okay.
So that's interesting where it's like, I can't imagine this movie would have done well in theaters.
Well, I mean, a lot of people read the book. It's got one of those...
I guess maybe in the summer.
It's got one of those titles.
Let's go see
we've graduated from all the girl books. Now we're on to women books, right?
Right. But can we just talk about that real quick where it's like, another movie where the woman is drunk and so no one believes her, but then it turns out that she was right.
That's why I'm wearing this shirt.
Like...
I believe you.
I believe in you.
I believe you, Amy Adams. I believe you're sane. Mostly. Mostly. It's a little blurred, but I believe in you.
But yeah, so like that was frustrating for me where it's just like, another one of these. It's another girl on the train. Okay.
There was very few shots that did not involve a giant wine glass, which I sort of appreciated.
I mean, they were giant wine glasses. I mean, obviously we're ones to talk, but like they were hefty pours.
They were Courtney Cox in Cougar Town. They were heavy pours.
Big Carl, for sure. Yeah.
So, Woman in the Window. Having read the book, well, I was going to ask, who do you think the woman in the window is? I don't think the film did a great job of that.
I assumed it was Amy Adams, but it's supposed to be the woman who got murdered in the window.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Well, so the biggest mystery for me is the cast. I I don't get it. I know why Gary Oldman's in this movie, because Joe Wright got him his Oscar for Darkest Hour for Churchill.
Sure. I forgot about Darkest Hour.
Yeah. Hours? Hour.
Just hour.
Hour. Just one. Just that 1 hour. So that's why, I mean, it just is so strange to me that we have Julianne Moore, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Gary Oldman, all showing up for, I don't know, 6 days work? Tops.
Right.
That's what was so strange. It's like, why was Julianne Moore
I
in
mean,
this
I love
movie?
that, but like,
you know, was that what's
well, why is Julianne Moore in this movie? Particularly where, okay, I have to say it, I think that Amy Adams
was miscast.
Is, yes, and uneven in her skill of acting.
Particularly in this performance, I would say. The first half hour, I was going, did Amy Adams forget how to act? What happened? What has happened?
Yeah.
But then later, when it was like real cuckoo bananas, and I was like, wait, do I actually kind of like this movie now? She was great. I thought, like, better, more convincing.
She was better. I think maybe she had more to do or something, or she was more sure of herself. I don't know. She did get better, but it still wasn't good. I wouldn't be like, oh, that was a good performance.
No, not necessarily. I really enjoyed. Okay, so basically the plot is real quick. Amy Adams, drunk, agoraphobic woman in New York in a fabulous apartment. We'll talk about it. Who believes that she sees a murder and, you know, is basically like, you're crazy, and uncovers it Rear Window style-ish.
I'm not crazy. I'm not hallucinating. Do I seem unreasonable?
That scene where they all confront her and she's like, I'm not crazy.
I'm not crazy. No.
I thought that was great. I was really into it. When they zoomed in on her and it was like this alienation of like her, I thought it was good. Not like,
I thought it was
like,
so overwrought.
Of course.
Oh my God.
That was the whole point, Andrew. It was a crazy over-the-top thriller genre piece. I mean, in a way it's like, oh, Joe Wright was trying to do Hitchcock, but really what he ended up doing was De Palma. And De Palma was doing Hitchcock. But there was so much like little bits of De Palma like coming out, like when the murder happens and those stupid blood splatters. I was like, what's this? And there was all those real deep focus shots where there's like a person in the foreground and then there's stuff happening, and I was like, oh, I wish De Palma had directed this, because it would have been waggy. There would have been some split screen shit happening. I would have been into it. Is all I'm saying.
That's where, but it wasn't that, and so that's where I don't know.
There was little glimpses, you know, like she. Yeah. Spoiler alert. And this was much more well drawn in the book. Let's say, she's separated from her family for the first half of the book, and then we realize, not shockingly, they are dead, and she is hallucinating them. Right? That wasn't a shock to you, right?
Well, we never actually see them, but I guess she's hallucinating their voices or whatever. You know, she's imagining talking to them on the phone.
Right. But were you surprised that they were in fact dead?
At this point, when she's like, your family is dead, I was like, oh.
Dr. Fox, your family is dead.
I hated this movie. I thought it was so boring and bad and stupid. And I thought that like at one point it gets crazy, but for no reason. It was completely unearned. And it wasn't even crazy in the fun way where you're like, what is this? This is so insane.
I would say, I have to just say, also Anthony Mackie's in this movie. Why? I just had to put that out there. I forgot he was in the movie because he is in so little of the movie. Anthony Mackie played her dead husband.
Oh, right. Oh, right.
So on top of all the other people that were, I was like, and Anthony Mackie, why was he in 5 seconds of this film?
I think it was just, Joe Wright's directing an action thriller, like whatever.
I read that book on a plane.
I want to be in that.
I'll be in it.
Oh, I have a day. I can be in the car. I don't know. You know, it was just that.
I enjoyed it more than you. I don't think it was good, but I thought it was real boring. And then I had a really fun time with the climax, because it was so terribly put together. It was so bad.
It really was.
And again, spoiler alert, I don't think you should watch the movie necessarily, but you could read the book if you are into those kind of books. The next door neighbor kid is a serial killer. The villain. In the book, it's much more, they have much more of a relationship. He comes over, he rents movies from her, they chat.
See, that would have been nice.
In this, it's like, hey, we met once. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with you. You're the murderer.
Right.
I was like, where did come from?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I liked that scene where she was like, I'm not crazy. What are you talking about? And she like goes into her own mind. And I thought there was fun stuff when they're in the apartment, but then the car, like the crime, the car scene.
You thought that was good?
I'm not saying good. I'm saying that was the interesting things that were going on in the film. Like, these are the big, like, choices.
What does that say?
These are the big choices that were made
Well, yes.
that weren't
Yes.
Amy Adams in an oversized shirt sleeping on a couch. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh!
Yeah.
And now this car is in here. In the book, the car accident is so much more dramatic. I believe they're not dead right away. And she watches them die slowly over, like, a snowy period of time. And it's, like, really fucked.
Because she can't get help from anyone.
Because she can't get help. She keeps trying to call. She can't get out. I thought a lot of that could have been better told.
Yeah.
But this final scene on the roof, though,
Oh my God.
Andrew, when it became truly a Lifetime film, I was cackling.
Honestly.
I had a great time. The last 10 minutes, had a great time.
I was just like, what is this? It was like The Conjuring with him like scrambling up the stairs like the fucking beast in
The Conjuring?
James McAvoy.
Have you?
I don't know. Like
have
he
you
was like a
seen The
creepy little.
Conjuring?
No, I don't know.
That's like a ghost movie.
That's what it looked like. He was like, "Ooh, I'm a creepy ghost coming to get ya," and she's like punching him backward, and is like, "Woo!"
Oh my God! When
It was
she
so stupid.
super strength kicked him, like she was the Hulk, I laughed so hard. She like punts him. It was insane.
It was insane.
I had a great time.
I was like, "What is this?" And then he's like climbing back up like he's like a little monster demon child. Ooh, I mean, it was like The Conjuring. It was, "Oh, I'm a ghost. I'm gonna come get ya." Ooh. It was so stupid. It was like, this is a completely different genre of film, let alone like.
It became a different movie. Wyatt Russell is the tenant. He's Kurt Russell's son.
Oh.
So that's why
He was bad. Oh, can we talk about something else?
He was not great.
The dialogue, the screenplay was awful to the point where like no one acted like human beings. Like literally no one in this movie acted like a human being. So
Remember
you're
that
like
exposition dump when it was just like mystery. Oh, she thinks she saw Jane Russell. That was like a joke in the book that the woman who has been murdered is named Jane Russell and she's obsessed with old movies.
Well, they did that with the Google search.
Of
where
course,
she's
of
like,
course.
"Oh, Jane Russell," and then it was like, "Oh,
keeps
of
coming
course.
up.
Yeah.
But there's mystery. Is she dead? Who is she? What really happened? Was Amy Adams imagining it all? And it's just like, you're going along going, I don't know what's happening. And then Wyatt Russell shows up to just be like, this is what happened.
Her name is Katie.
What?
Ethan, the son, she is the birth mother.
I have all the facts.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? He was just like,
Her name is Kate,
her
and
name's
she was a
Kate.
thing. And this
She
was
told me her whole life story. That's the mom. She disappeared. Then she tried to kill them. Then this happened. Then that happened. And all of this.
She ran away on him when she was 8 months pregnant. Disappeared. Alistair spent 2 years chasing her down, found her in some Oregon meth commune. He took the boy. She went to prison.
Mystery solved.
Now I will die.
And now I will be stabbed. I was like, whoa, what? The whole so it turns out that the son pretends to be, kind of weak and abused and sad,
Right.
and she's a child psychologist and gets taken in by him. And there's much more of a reveal that he's been like stalking her apartment and breaking in and fucking with her and moving stuff and like all of that. That was not in the film.
Which would have been more fun.
Way
like,
more
that's
fun.
so weird to me.
Way more
There's so
fun.
much more material that could have been used of her, like, where you're like, wait, that got moved? How?
Is she
crazy? Is she just moving stuff? And like, Percocet, not Percocet buying. What is it when people, Ambien buying?
Oh.
Is she like Ambien shopping at night and like
yeah.
moving shit around? Like, what's going on?
Where were
I want to know.
all of her Amazon packages of DVDs and Blu-rays? I mean, that was funny. It was on Netflix. In the book, she has a lot of physical media.
Sure.
But it was just funny that it was
Right.
like on Netflix and she was like, here are DVDs.
Well, right, sure.
Would you like to rent them from my house? Okay, here you go. It was in the book.
The last blockbuster on 121st Street. No one acted like a human being. Like the tenant down below was super weird and stilted in his speech and the way that he delivered things. Everything was awkward. I was like, no one talks like that. What are we doing?
She wouldn't shut up. They've been hiding from her for years. She found out they were living in Boston. He's been paying her to stay away.
then the neighbors obviously were weird and creepy and didn't act like human beings. The detectives that just let people in from the street into someone else's apartment. I was like, that's not what.
Let's all confront and have an intervention for this woman we don't know.
What?
Let's all witness. Let's invite people to witness her mental break. Yes.
Right.
Fantastic.
Okay. Great. And well, then the other detective, the female detective that was just like the biggest bitch and was like, oh, like
your family's
whatever she'd
dead.
say, she'd be like, you're crazy. Yeah, well then, yeah, your family's dead. Your family's dead.
I looked it up. You crazy bitch. What?
Yeah. I looked it up in the past 30 seconds in this hallway. What?
I just wrote down, oh my God, those wine bottles in the garbage bag were so overly mic'd. I was like, we got it.
Clank,
Clank, clank, clank, clank. Should I take your trash out? Bling, blang, ding, ding, ding. I was just like, wow. I mean, we got it.
She goes through some wine.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I really, really wanted to get her a kimono belt.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
There was like a lot of
wishing
choices of, and I was like, get a fucking belt. It was, I don't know, it was really bothering me.
I just wish that there was more like evidence burning caftan fashion and less like schlubby, nightgown fashion.
Well, that's the Brian De Palma of it all. If it had been him, she would have looked fucking fabulous in her agoraphobic, nightmarish state of depression.
Right.
But she would have been at a blowout. It would have been everything,
I mean, I get it that like she wouldn't, of course. But I did kind of wish, although also why not necessarily? I mean, I know she's depressed and there's a whole, subplot there. But like just because she's not going outside doesn't mean that she has to not give a shit about how she looks.
Give me some chunky oatmeal socks, something.
Yes, cute. I feel like they just overdid it to the other side of
I mean, she was a disaster. I mean, she's a disaster in the book too. But like at a certain point, she's looking for her cat. And she just dipped her hair in the cat food. Did you notice that? She's like leaning to look under the bed and her hair went in the cat food dish. And I was like, no, ma'am, no. This is gross. I don't think that was a choice. I think that just happened. And I was like, no, do not care for this. Well, I think too part of the cartoonishness of it all, or the tone issues, were not helped by the fact that Danny Elfman did the score. Right? The score was nuts. So it was supposed to be Trent Reznor and Atticus, not Finch, but that guy that works with him all the time, whose name is Atticus, not Finch. And which would have been so, mysterious. That's Fincher's, composer that he uses all the time. But they got Danny Elfman instead. And because of that, I mean, maybe it made it a little bit better for me because it was just like, and now it's a cartoon. But it certainly didn't help. It didn't help.
There were multiple times where I was like, what is this score? And it reminded me of something and I couldn't place what, but like,
Nightmare Before Christmas?
I mean, honestly, right? Like, maybe, I don't know. But it was, the tone and the score was just so different from what it needed to be telling me.
I think, yes, that was evident from the Danny Elfman of it all.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of this movie came together for me.
The last 15, I was like, gobsmacked. When he trowel forks her in the face. And she then,
so stupid.
Like Superman. I mean, of course it was stupid, Andrew. I was cackling. She's on the roof. And he's trying to drown her. She's stabbing him. They're like throwing each other around. It was hilarious. It was out of control.
Yes, but in a fun, it wasn't like, oh, and then she bare knuckle boxed that gremlin.
Oh no,
out of control way.
That's a diamond in the rough, Andrew. Those don't come along so easily. But this was like the last 10 minutes for me. I was having a fun time. I thought, wow, this really went off the rails and was dumb.
It did, in fact, go off the rails and was dumb. I don't know. It was just like, I was so frustrated in that it was so clearly wanting to be, Vertigo meets Rear Window, but instead of vertigo, it's agoraphobia meets, it's that. But it just didn't work in any of those ways that those movies do.
No, I mean, and they didn't set up the villain at all. I mean, they forgot about him. Like, he disappeared from the film, and when he showed back up in his murder hoodie and was just like,
yep.
Turns out
I'm evil.
I'm a serial killer. I was like, what? I don't remember this. And then it kind of came back to me, but I was like, what? I really enjoyed the apartment. This just
her house,
expansive.
her like brownstone.
There's
or
a
whatever.
lot more in the book about like the block and the neighborhood and the apartment and all of that. It's much more detailed. And so I was loving all these sweeping staircases and her sexy bath, like her little, I'm taking, all that stuff. I wish that had been more beautifully photographed or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, which is so weird to say about a Joe Wright film.
Right?
But at the same time, I don't remember the last time I enjoyed one of his movies. It might have been Atonement.
No, you love Pride and Prejudice. Oh, that was before.
That's before Atonement.
I really liked Hannah.
I loved Hannah.
That was the last one, I think.
Yeah.
Unless I'm forgetting something.
I mean, last hour or whatever, longest ride
fine.
hour was fine, but not anything that I would remember. I mean, I didn't remember it. So, like, it's not something to be like, oh, yeah, Criterion Collection,
She's got all the DVDs. She's got it.
She has she has the whole set.
I would have had it lean in more to, and maybe this is because they couldn't get the rights to stuff, but really lean into the references of it all. And like there's a whole point where she's talking about, in the book, talking about Rififi, this French movie where there's like this really long 10 to 15 minute heist sequence that's just in silence. And it's famous. And I was like, oh, wouldn't it be so great if they found a way to like intercut her hiding with the Rififi's playing on the TV and like intercut that with, ooh, and she hears a sound from the TV and thinks, have fun with it. Go for it. If you're going to make this broad genre piece of we're referencing old movies, we're referencing these thrillers and all of these Hitchcock movies and stuff, lean in.
Well, especially, like, you basically had carte blanche to then just do any and all of those movies that you wanted, because it's just like, oh, she's having a drunken episode and she wakes up to that movie. Great. That's the end of that scene where it was like, ooh, what's crazy? Oh, it was a dream. She was dreaming because she was, or was she dreaming?
Or was she?
It's 10:30, Professor Wanley.
It's that vibe.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and
that'd be really fun.
They play a scene from Spellbound, this Hitchcock movie, where all that Salvador Dali, dream sequence, repressed stuff is going on with Gregory Peck and Ingrid Bergman.
Yes.
That would have been so fun to play with. And, what's really going on? And if she's having these visions, oh God, that just reminded me. Remember The Soloist? I think that was Joe Wright. I do believe.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't know. It's like a period definitely seems to be his sweet spot. And Hannah maybe is an outlier.
Yes.
Especially, like, I'm thinking about, like, all of his wonders and stuff in Pride and Prejudice.
And Atonement.
Works because and Atonement. Those are both, like, though, like, the tone is slow.
There's a purpose.
Everything is, you're soaking in it. You're bringing it all in, You're like, ooh, yes. This, you're like, why are we taking so long to pan through this elaborate set that you had built for the 6 days of shooting that you did with Amy Adams? I don't know what
Amy
it's
was there
telling
for
me.
more than 6 days. Everyone else was only there for...
Maybe.
And then her agoraphobia is cured. She's great.
Cured.
I'm great now.
Yeah.
I nailed it. I confronted my fears and the reality of a serial killer, and I'm great now.
Yeah. I have a fabulous blowout. I have a great camel trench coat.
Oh.
Love it.
My tenant is dead. I saw him murdered in front of me. I'm great.
Well, she sold her apartment. I was like, wow, this guy really fucked up the real estate market in this neighborhood, right?
Right?
Because there was a murder in the other one, and a murder and a self-defense whatever in this one. Like, a lot of disclosures.
Yes, in fact. at a certain point, because Julianne Moore comes over early in the movie to visit, and she's just like, this shitty apartment. Like, she keeps saying how shitty it is, and I was like, excuse me? I mean, maybe it could use a coat of paint, but my God.
Well, it seemed like it could use a lot, but yes.
The bones of it were not shitty.
Sure. No. Well, I didn't know if maybe she was trying to seem like she was the fancy wife that lived across the street.
Jennifer Jason Leigh, who had 2 lines. I'm Jane Russell. It's me. I'm her.
I'm Jane Russell.
I'm her.
Thanks, Jennifer. Bye. Very strange. Very strange.
But I will say also, I forgot, like, Julianne Moore didn't act like a real person either. Like, this whole scene was so weird, and I guess they wanted you to be like, oh, is she crazy? Is she imagining it? I don't know. But I was like, who's doing this?
Right. If we're supposed to believe that Amy Adams is not lucid and is the crazy one, everyone else should seem pretty normal. For me, this movie doesn't, or this plot does nothing if she's not vindicated, right? If it's just like, you're a crazy lady, what's the point of this movie?
1 manic, 3 seniles, 6 alcoholics, and 10 schizos.
And going up all the time. This civilization of ours is a worse disease than heart trouble or tuberculosis.
So I was never like convinced, you know, even reading the book, like, oh, I bet she's actually just crazy. You were like, no, she's probably right.
Right.
So that sort of conceit, I don't think holds water for the entirety of the, you know.
Yeah.
I think, this would have been better perhaps told if it was like a bottle and you feel her agoraphobia. I mean, it's mostly done inside the apartment, but if they'd really gone in and you only see angles that she can see and lean in, basically. This was like, middle of the road. I wish it had just gone for it.
More stuff to make me feel like I'm crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
Or claustrophobic or whatever, you know.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
And I agree. I'm really bummed now that there wasn't more interplay between her and the kid.
There's like, they have like a really weird relationship, and he's always coming over, and they're gabbing about movies and stuff. It was so strange that he disappeared for the entirety of the middle section of the movie and then showed up to be like, it was me, I'm a serial killer. Nah!
Yeah, I would say fully skippable.
I would say you could since it's on Netflix, you could fast forward to the last like 15 because it got wild for me. And then that's all you're watching.
Not wild enough.
She got, what is that thing called? The 3-pronger.
Like a trowel or whatever.
That's like a little shovel-y thing.
No, not a trowel. It's like a hoe, like that
3-forked gardening thing. To the face. I mean, I laughed so hard.
But then, like, her reaction to it was like weird zombie too.
Oh, because it was like it was all, you know, CGI'd. It was just like, okay, now pretend
it looked awful. That was the other thing.
Oh yeah, you could like see it through the teeth, like all fakey, like it was bad.
But also, like, all of the action was awful. Like when she was hitting him, I was like, this is terrible.
She kicked him, like punted him across the room, and that sound effect, it really got me. It really got me.
So bad.
So yeah, it's not good. But you know, it's on Netflix. Gary Oldman was there, and he got to yell at someone briefly.
And of course you're completely out of your goddamn mind!
That was probably the most...
that was pretty scary,
that was the best
say. Like, that was intense.
Probably in the movie.
Yeah.
Gary, bringing it every time. Cheers!
Cheers.